What if Angel Batista has carried the truth about Dexter Morgan all these years, buried deep in the back of his mind? What if every unsolved clue, every strange moment, every unanswered question about the Bay Harbor Butcher case has finally come back to the surface? Episode 6 of Dexter. Resurrection teases exactly that a theory Batista may no longer be able to ignore. And if he's right, it changes everything. Back in Miami, the Bay Harbor Butcher case was one of the most infamous investigations in the city's history. Dozens of bodies wrapped in plastic, hidden beneath the ocean, each one tied to criminals who had somehow escaped justice. The task force, including Angel Batista, worked day and night to uncover the identity of the killer. To the world, the case looked like the work of a vigilante. But to Miami Metro, it was a mystery that refused to give up answers. Batista was there for every step of it. He stood beside his colleagues as evidence poured in, as bodies were dragged out of the water, as theories twisted and collapsed. He listened to Deborah, who seemed oddly protective of her brother. He watched LaGuardia grow obsessed with proving that Dexter was hiding something, even when nobody else wanted to believe it. And in the end, Batista was left with a case closed on paper, but never truly solved in his heart. For Batista, the Bay Harbor Butcher wasn't just another file in the department's archive. It was a wound that never healed. He saw good officers die, like LaGuardia, chasing answers that the world wasn't ready to face. He saw colleagues dismiss theories, ignore red flags, and accept convenient truths. And deep down, there's a question that may have never stopped haunting him. Did we let the real killer slip away right under our noses? In the episode 6 sneak peek, Batista isn't just another cop doing his job. He feels like a man circling back to an old ghost. The short clip doesn't give us much, but what it does show is Batista asking the kinds of questions that sting. His tone isn't casual. His words aren't random. It feels as if every line carries the weight of years of quiet doubt. Years of replaying the Bay Harbor Butcher case in his head. We see him pause, study, and press in ways that suggest he isn't satisfied with surface-level answers anymore. It's not about new crimes or random suspects. It's about the past finally bleeding into the present. The very way he frames his thoughts hints that he's pulling from memory, from cases that never quite made sense, from names and faces that should have been cleared long ago, but never truly left him. What's even more striking is how the scene is shot. The camera lingers on Batista's expressions, as if daring us to see what's going on inside his head. There's a sharpness in his eyes, a focus we don't often see unless something personal is at stake. It doesn't feel like standard police work. It feels like an old truth clawing its way back to the surface. And then there's the most important detail, the mention of the Bay Harbor Butcher itself. This isn't a throwaway callback. It's deliberate, and it puts Batista back on the trail of the one case that defined his career and nearly tore his team apart. The preview may only give us seconds, but in those seconds, Batista feels closer than ever to saying what he never dared to before. The Bay Harbor Butcher was never caught. For years, Batista may have pushed the Bay Harbor Butcher case to the back of his mind. But episode 6 suggests those suspicions are resurfacing. The way he leans into the conversation in the sneak peek doesn't feel like simple curiosity. It feels like he's testing the waters, like he already has a theory forming. And he's waiting for the pieces to confirm it. Think about it. Batista was there when LaGuardia risked everything to prove Dexter's connection to the killings. He was there when she died under circumstances that never sat right. Official reports said it was dokes or tied up loose ends, but none of it added up. LaGuardia wasn't reckless. She was smart, relentless, and she knew what she saw. If Batista has replayed her obsession over the years, then maybe now, with new clues in front of him, he's finally seeing what she saw. The suspicion doesn't have to be direct either. It could be subtle, a gnawing thought at the back of his mind. Why did the killings stop right after Dexter disappeared? Why did the evidence LaGuardia collected mysteriously vanish into closed files? Why did Deborah, who once defended her brother so fiercely, spiral in guilt after LaGuardia's death? Every thread Batista pulls on leads back to Dexter. And now, in this episode, it feels like he's daring himself to finally pull harder. The most chilling part of his suspicion is that it isn't. Built on one moment, it's built on years of silence, of ignored instincts, of connections he didn't want to believe. And when Batista begins to follow that gut feeling again, the truth about Dexter as the Bay Harbor Butcher might no longer be a theory, it might become a reality he can no longer deny. Episode 6 doesn't feel like just another chapter in Dexter. Resurrection, it feels like a crossroads. For Angel Batista, this could be the moment when years of quiet suspicion finally break the surface. Up until now, he's been the steady detective, the loyal friend, the one who trusted his team even when things didn't make sense. But this episode positions him differently. It teases the possibility that Batista may no longer be content with leaving the Bay Harbor Butcher buried in the past. Why is that so important? Because Batista isn't just any character, he's someone who lived through every stage of the Butcher investigation. He's seen colleagues die in pursuit of the truth. He's watched Lagarda sacrifice her career, her reputation, and ultimately her life, all because she refused to let go of her belief in Dexter's guilt. If Batista is now ready to revisit those memories, then Episode 6 could serve as the moment when his personal loyalty collides with his professional duty. The timing of this shift is no accident. By Episode 6, the series is at its midpoint, the stage where storylines tighten, stakes rise, and hidden truths start clawing their way into the open. This is the point where every glance, every question, and every reference to the past becomes a loaded weapon in the story. And Batista, with his deep ties to both the case and to Dexter himself, is the perfect character to ignite that spark. If Episode 6 delivers what the sneak peek hints at, Batista's role in the story may never be the same. He may go from supporting detective to the very man who holds Dexter's fate in his hands. And that shift could be the heartbeat of the season moving forward. If Batista truly begins piecing the puzzle together in Episode 6, then the entire story shifts direction. Up until now, Dexter's survival has been more about his own choices, his own struggle with the Dark Passenger, and the new people caught in his orbit. But if Batista locks onto the Bay Harbor Butcher again, Dexter's past is no longer just a shadow, it becomes a threat that's alive. Chasing him in real time, think of the weight Batista carries. He isn't just a cop reopening an old case. He's a man haunted by the possibility that his closest colleague, his friend, and even his family in blue were deceived by Dexter Morgan. That betrayal isn't something Batista would take lightly. If he accepts the truth, he has to face not only Dexter's crimes, but also the fact that Miami Metro lived with a serial killer in their ranks. That personal sting is what makes Batista's journey so compelling. Episode 6 hints at that emotional clash. The way Batista asks his questions, the way the conversation hovers around the Bay Harbor Butcher. It's less about facts on paper and more about a gut feeling refusing to stay silent. Once Batista begins connecting those dots, there's no way back. Each memory of Dexter, each unexplained piece of evidence, each haunting look from Lagarta's final days will begin to line up into a picture he can't ignore. And here's the dramatic twist. If Batista decides to voice his theory, it doesn't just put Dexter at risk. It shakes every relationship tied to him. Deborah's memory resurfaces. Harrison's future is threatened. Miami Metro's history is rewritten. Batista isn't just unlocking a cold case. He's pulling at a thread that could unravel everything. That's why Episode 6 feels like a ticking clock. Once Batista speaks the words, Dexter was the Bay Harbor Butcher. The show cannot go back to silence. Fans have been buzzing about Batista ever since Dexter Resurrection was announced. And Episode 6 only fuels the fire. One of the strongest theories is that Batista has quietly suspected Dexter for years, but lacked the proof or the courage to confront it. Some believe this season will finally give him that chance, turning him into the ultimate pursuer of the Bay Harbor Butcher. Another popular theory is that Batista's journey will mirror Lagarda's, just as she became consumed with uncovering the truth. Fans predict Batista may find himself drawn into the same dangerous obsession. The difference is, Batista carries the advantage of hindsight. He knows what Lagarda risked. He knows how it ended for her. That memory could make him cautious, or it could fuel him to finish the job she started, no matter the cost. There are also predictions tying Batista directly to Dexter's son, Harrison. Some fans speculate that Batista may be the one to warn Harrison about his father's true identity. If that happens, the emotional weight of the story would double. Harrison wouldn't just be confronting the idea of his father's darkness, he'd be hearing it from someone who worked beside. Dexter trusted him, and now believes he was the butcher all along. And then there's the wildest theory. Batista won't survive his pursuit of the truth, just as LaGuardia paid the price for chasing Dexter. Some fans believe Batista may suffer the same fate, whether by Dexter's hand, Harrison's choices, or a twist no one sees coming. The idea is simple: if you chase the Bay Harbor Butcher, you may not live to tell the story. Episode 6 doesn't answer these questions, but it does set the stage. Batista is no longer on the sidelines. He's inching closer to the core of the story, and with every step, fans are left wondering, will he expose Dexter, redeem LaGuardia's suspicions, and change the course of the series? Will history repeat itself and silence him before he speaks the truth? Episode 6 feels like the moment where two timelines finally crash into each other. For years, the Bay Harbor Butcher existed in Dexter's past, a secret buried with blood-slides, lost files, and the lies Miami Metro told itself. But now, that buried truth is clawing its way into the present through Angel Batista. Every look, every word, every quiet suspicion he carries in the sneak peek suggests that the line between old memories and current events is about to shatter. The collision isn't just symbolic, it's dangerous. If Batista truly brings the Bay Harbor Butcher theory into the open, it doesn't just expose Dexter's past, it changes the stakes of the present. The sins of Miami Metro, the silence of Deborah, the obsession of LaGuardia, all of it rushes back into focus. And for Dexter, that means the life he tried to rebuild under the shadows may no longer stand. The past has found him again, and it wears Batista's face. What makes this collision even more compelling is how personal it feels. Batista isn't an outsider stumbling onto Dexter's crimes, he's family. He's someone who shared dinners, beers, and long nights on the job. He trusted Dexter with his life, just like LaGuardia once did. So when Batista begins piecing things together, it isn't just an investigation. It's a betrayal that hits close to the heart. And betrayals are what make stories explode. As episode 6 unfolds, viewers are left holding their breath. Is this the moment Batista finally steps into the role of truth-teller? Or is it the moment history repeats itself, and the truth is smothered by silence once more? Either way, the collision of past and present ensures that nothing will remain untouched. Not Dexter, not Harrison, and not Batista himself. For Batista, this isn't just about reopening a cold case, it's about confronting years of guilt, loyalty, and loss. The Bay Harbor Butcher investigation wasn't just another file on his desk. It defined a period of his life where friends became suspects, trust broke apart, and one of his closest colleagues, Maria LaGuardia, paid the ultimate price for chasing the truth. Every time Batista hears the words Bay Harbor Butcher, it isn't just a case, it's a wound. That wound is what gives his theory such power. Batista isn't some outsider digging for headlines or glory. He's a man who lived inside the storm, who saw how close LaGuardia came, and who now carries the burden of her unfinished work. If he finally allows himself to believe what LaGuardia believed, Dexter Morgan was the Bay Harbor Butcher, then everything changes. Her death becomes more than tragedy. It becomes a silenced victory, a truth waiting to be spoken. And then there's the matter of betrayal. Batista trusted Dexter. He laughed with him, worked with him, leaned on him, when the job demanded more than one man could give. To realize that Dexter might have been living a double life the entire time would shake Batista to his core. The emotional weight of that betrayal doesn't just fuel anger, it fuels determination. If Batista is finally ready to accept this truth, then the investigation becomes personal. It isn't just about justice for the victims, it's about redemption for himself. For LaGuardia, and maybe even for Miami Metro's tarnished legacy. This is what makes episode 6 so critical. Batista isn't driven by cold evidence alone. He's driven by emotion, by history, and by a desperate need to make sense of the chaos Dexter left behind. That emotional stake is what turns a theory into a mission. And once Batista starts walking that path, nothing, not even the danger of exposing Dexter, may be able to stop him.